Time for the ride home in ENC.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
This is your 5 o'clock drive with Patrick Johnson.
Holy mackerel!
More news, more interviews, more ECU stories than you can shake a stick at. Hey, stop shaking that stick. This is the Patrick Johnson Show.
Pirates win! Pirates win!
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, hello again, everybody, and welcome. Special edition of the show as we get ready for Pirate Baseball and the opening day to get going here at the top of the hour. We'll have coverage here on 94.3 The Game beginning at 3:45 with the pregame and then the radio call. I'll be on the now doubleheader for Saturday. And we've got ESPN Plus coverage, so I'll be on that for Saturday's game. It will be Mr. ACC, Evan Budrovich, and our guest at this time on this special edition, Mike Mullis, joining us there. Mully, how are you, buddy? Happy Merry Christmas, Mike Mullis. Merry Christmas to you here on opening day.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way, man. We're right before kicking this thing off, man, at exciting times, and man, looking forward to a great weekend. Super fired up to get to spend the entirety of Valentine's Day with you, PJ. So nothing says Valentine's Day like Mully and PJ and some baseball.
I can't think of a better way to spend it, to be honest. I cannot. So I'm sure we'll have some themed attire to play towards the day. But that'll be coming up Saturday. We've got the opening game today between Xavier and ECU. On the whole, Mike, as you enter the season, East Carolina in a couple of polls right there at the 2024 ranking. It was a very un-ECU-like year last year under Cliff Godwin. What are your expectations before we get into some of the specifics?
You know, P, it's funny, man. It was the regular season certainly didn't go the way that Coach Godwin and the team would have wanted. But standard and typical Cliff Godwin late run magic, we see him losing a 1-0 game to a team that moves on to Omaha in Coastal Carolina. So they ended up pulling it out of the ditch. I think this year we see a return to a little more normalcy. We've talked about it, and it's kind of funny. We're to the point in this thing where it's been previewed, and we've looked at it, and now it's time to go see what it looks like. But the depth of roster, the depth of the pitching staff, I don't know that we've seen anything like it at East Carolina, certainly not in a long time. And look, the first indication is we know right now who the probable starters are for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Right. So when's the last time that happened?
Yeah, and really we know that for both sides too. Games 1 through 3, and that leads us to kind of where we are with Connor Norby. What are your expectations for Connor Norby as he'll get the ball this afternoon for an opportunity to build on what was certainly a magical season? I was just looking through some of the numbers a little bit ago in advance of our twin bill that we'll have for TV on Saturday. And what's really interesting to me is, and it's really staggering, the strikeout to walk ratio, those numbers. And you look at guys at the collegiate level, and sometimes, I mean, there's never this real huge disparity. I mean, I would almost say, Mike, if it's a 2+ to 1, that's considered a pretty good pitcher. That's a good number for a starting pitcher, and really any pitcher. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but the Norby numbers are staggering. I mean, he almost had 100 more strikeouts than total walks. That's unreal.
Yeah, and I mean, in answer to your question, what do I expect? I expect continued excellence and maybe improvement. I know that Norby's put a lot of work in the offseason and really driven down into some details of things that he does. He added a pitch that, or maybe improved on a changeup that had been kind of a bugaboo pitch for him. But no, the numbers, you're right, they scream Friday night starter, and that's what you got, and one of the best in the country. And again, at East Carolina, we've got to become spoiled with that, and that becomes the expectations. But I think what's most impressive is what backs him up. What do I expect out of Norby tonight as we see him go out there? Man, a great outing. It'll be very interesting to see how far The coaching staff will go with all these pitchers this weekend from a pitch count standpoint. But, a typical Norby outing, he's going to get it. He's going to work quick. He's going to fill up the zone and keep hitters off balance. So I truly expect to see nothing but improvement if you can improve on the season that he had last year.
The great Mike Mullis with us here. Mully will be back in the booth for ESPN Plus for ECU this year and maybe some other games. You'll see, possibly. I'm sure we'll see Mr. Mullis because already we're getting the spring schedule. People are contacting us saying, hey, can you do this on this date and all of that because as things go, things tend to open up during the course of the year. So, and Mully has learned a valuable lesson in the realm of broadcasting when you're a broadcaster kind of going on the road to go do games at a place you maybe have never been to before or is not Clark LeClaire Stadium. Always bring water. That's what Mike has learned. Always bring your own. You see, I work with a lot of female broadcasters, sideline reporters, analysts, and they have those very fashionable stainless steel kind of containers they do their own water in, Mike. Maybe that might be what I get you for Valentine's. I could maybe get you one of those. Some nice hearts on it or some pretty designs that you could take with you.
I appreciate your sentiment. I did learn if you don't travel with water, as long as you travel with money, they'll get you water. So it's, it kind of balances out. But no, look, again, man, no place like home, no place like being up there in the booth at Clark LeClaire Stadium. And so why would, given my choices, I would just as soon be up there and call a Pirate baseball.
I will say, Mully, if you do go to Charlotte, bring that water. Charlotte does not have water for the working media members.
Well, Pilk, we're not going to put everybody on blast that doesn't have water. What we'll say is that the fine folks at Clark LeClaire Stadium and the administration of East Carolina,
great care of us. They take great care of us.
They do.
That's right. We are well fed. We are kept plenty hydrated, and they are very, very accommodating, of which we're all appreciative. And sometimes you don't appreciate those things until you don't have them.
Yeah, don't know what you got till you don't have it, in a sense, to coin a phrase, in a sense. Here's the other thing, Mike, I will say. I came across yesterday some very fanciful tea kettles as I went into a local store, and I almost snapped a picture and sent it to you and said, what would you think of this for this weekend? Because I think I'm going to have to tee it up, convalescing as I am. There's going to have to be some tea this weekend. We're going to be spilling the tea, but there'll be some tea. And you expect me to be ready, as you know.
I know when Patrick Johnson's involved, there's a certain level of maintenance that's maybe a little higher than some and maybe not quite as high as others. So we'll deal with it. If tea's what it takes, it's tea's what it takes, and we'll find a way to give the fans a great call.
All right, we're just ass-ended off here a little bit with the great Mike Mullis. I want to get back to some baseball. One other thing on Connor Norby I want to ask you about. How much do you think the experience at USA Baseball will maybe influence Connor into going into this season?
I think that'll play a part, obviously, when you get around other great players as that opportunity allows, clearly. Those things rub off, their habits, their routines, not only their habits, before game, after game, what their preparation and then their recovery looks like. And then, you get to bounce ideas, man. It's kind of like going to any conference that you go to for business, right? You go to the breakout sessions, you hear the speakers, but the nuts and bolts is that time you get to spend when you have a little downtime and you can kind of pick each other's brains and get a feel for best practices and things that are working, different places. So I think Norby benefited greatly from that, and we'll see it. And again, man, if he could come out and repeat the season he had last year, we should be more than thrilled. If he finds a way to improve it, you might be looking at again, one of the top 3 to 5 arms in the country.
I think there is a great depth of starting pitching. You sort of alluded to that. You and I are going to get a look, scheduled to get a look on Saturday in Game 1 of the doubleheader with Gavin Van Kempen out of West Virginia. And there was a real effort by this coaching staff through RevShare and what have you to acquire Van Kempen. story goes that he was here in Greenville, maybe was going to be on his way to another school down south to visit, and ECU did what they needed to do to lock him up almost immediately. So big measurable, 6'7", 240, multiple pitch guy, and is a guy that was bothered, I guess, by a little bit of injury last year, and that maybe stymied some of his numbers coming off what was a pretty solid 2024 for him.
Yeah, look, and you go Van Kempen, and then I know you'll get to Colby Weber, the young freshman everybody's excited about seeing. But I can promise you this, PJ, I had conversations as recently as 5-6 days ago where Van Kempen's name was certainly being tossed around as the Saturday guy. You had that name along with Ryan Towers. I thought RT would be the back end maybe Sunday. Looks like the decision's been made to go with Colby Weber. And, just a number of arms. Obviously, Jenkins. You still got Brett Antolik that Pirate fans have been excited about seeing. So, I think it says a lot about where they're going Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I am maybe a little bit surprised, not because of stuff, but just from a philosophical standpoint of getting Weber out there in game 2 on Saturday. But Van Kempen has been really, really good. Again, as it was put to me, they've written out the pitcher rotation or had written out speculative pitching rotations about 3 or 4 different ways, and every one of them the staff could make sense on. So I think it just is a testament. It's kind of, a little bit different than football, where they go, well, we're going to play multiple quarterbacks because if the old adage, if you don't have a starter, then you don't have a quarterback. If you're playing 2, you don't have 1. Much different in this situation, and I tell you what, it drives that pitching down the line too, and really bolsters what the midweek arms will look like.
Mike, we certainly, you mentioned Towers. We mentioned, or you have mentioned, talking about the depth of starting pitching behind these guys that'll start, because we know we'll end up seeing some arms today, very likely, that could come out of the pen. Unless Norby's pinpoint and efficient, which he could be. But I look at the bullpen side of this, Mike. What's your assessment of that as far as Cliff Godwin's team goes?
Man, if you look at just the kind of the statement I made, P, when they've named these 3 as probables, right? So that's who most likely will go with, unless there's an injury or something comes up. But it's still, I didn't mention Chacone's down there. There is a number of options, different look guys. There's some of the guys that we've seen before in Jackson DiLorenzo. Do I think he'll play the role that he had to play from an inning standpoint last year? Probably not. Sorry, all the dogs have maybe disagree with my opinion, but
they've taken over.
They have taken over, which is typical. But I would love to see DiLorenzo get back to where he was year before last, and just see where the totality of this staff could take us.
We're going to hit a break. We're going to come back. More of our lead up to Pirate baseball in the season opener. And we got something special to tell you about that Mike and I are going to be involved in beyond the telecasts in a little bit. And we'll also talk about the Pirate offense. It's ECU and Xavier. We are closing in on the pregame for you here this afternoon. It's coming up at 3:45. And then the first pitch of the 2026 season at 4:02. We'll be back. More of this special edition on this Friday, the Get You to Opening Day edition of the Patrick Johnson Show.
Beep, beep. Move over, Buttercup. We're back to the show.
We're back. And I love them.
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
All right, Mike Mullis, you'll hear him on ESPN Plus this afternoon as ECU takes on Xavier opening day. We'll talk about the Musketeers. They've got a heck of a run. We'll also talk about the Pirates 1 through 9 in the lineup, and a lot of versatility there in some spots. I guess you could call it competition for some positions, but I tend to look at it as versatility, because I think we're going to see a lot of guys, especially early on this weekend, Mike Mullis joining Philip and myself here on this special edition of the Patrick Johnson Show. Let's tell the folks about something that you've worked really, really hard on and put together with our friends from Tiebreakers. Of course, we'll be back, or I'll be back on Monday for Inside Pirate Athletics at 6 o'clock, our normal ECU coaches show and all things ECU Athletics visit. Also, we've got a special thing planned for Pirate Nation on Tuesday, Mully, for the Campbell game. So let the people know what it is.
Yeah, man, I am pumped, and again, pumped that we'll get an opportunity, you and I together, to bring this to the Pirate fans. We are going to do for lack of a better way to put it, a live watch party, kind of trying to bring the jungle to Tiebreakers. I'm sorry?
Yeah. I'm calling it a watch-along. That's what I'm calling it.
A watch-along. And, well, we're going. I think we're going to be more party than along is what I'm hoping. But again, we're going to get together, talk ball. We're going to have trivia. We're going to have giveaways. Actually, doing some memorabilia that we'll raffle off, and all the proceeds will go back to what was formerly known as the NIL for baseball. Now it's under several different names. But man, just a big time. Have some guests riding along. Right now, we're committed to doing as many of these road games in Tiebreakers as you, the fans, want us to do. And PJ, again, super pumped that you're going to be there. And man, I'm looking forward to it. And I'll tell you, it's been met with overwhelmingly positive, kind of comments and results. So we'll see how it goes. Tuesday night, the first one, 5 o'clock. And everybody in Pirate Nation can jointly agree that these Campbell games give us a fit. So let's get together and we can at least enjoy the company of the Pirate faithful as we cheer on and kind of discuss how that game goes.
I'm very excited about it. I'm honored you decided to include me in it. And I think a lot of the fun that you and I have in these segments and on television will carry over in a more celebratory way, even more so there at Tiebreakers. And I think it's going to be a great thing. So thanks to Bram and thanks to the folks at Tiebreakers. We're looking forward to that again Tuesday at 5 o'clock, and we'll remind you of that throughout.
PJ, before we leave that, and I think this is important for folks to know, there will be a lot more banner and interaction and crowd interaction. We'll have a wireless. Yeah. I mean, there'll be opportunities for fans to ask questions about gameplay. They'll be able to ask guest questions. So you're right. It'll be maybe a lot more of a loose kind of coverage of the game. The way I don't want people to think they're going to show up and basically watch us as though we're sitting in the press box doing our day job. This will be a lot more interactive, and this will be fan driven. And quite frankly, we'll go anywhere within the legal realms that the fans take us.
And we're going to do a little. And again, this is a new thing. It's a new presentation, so there will be some trial by fire. But I think one thing you're particularly excited about is a kind of maybe a you make the call kind of option that we want to put out there in our presentation.
Yeah. No, you be the coach. We'll be in situations, and the fans will have a chance to give us their opinion. And if they're right, there'll be a prize. And if they're wrong, they'll get ribbed. And it'll just be a good time, have all. But, I mean, again, a great environment to watch Pirate baseball surrounded by Pirate fans, and I'm stoked. We'll be starting to announce who our guests are going to be kind of as we go along. Already have some lined up that are really exciting, and we'll pull the curtain back on that here going into first of next week.
All right, very excited about it. Tune in. Patrick Johnson Shows will be doing the show from Tiebreakers on Monday, and we'll provide some details on that. Also, Wally might stop by that program, and we'll get some recap of the first weekend, which again has been truncated to a 2 days, 3 games over 2 days, with Xavier and East Carolina playing a doubleheader tomorrow, beginning at 12:30, with the second game 45 minutes after. So it is, if you love baseball, like Molly and I love baseball, you're going to love Valentine's Day, because it will be wall-to-wall baseball. Does this cause you to cancel big dinner plans? I shouldn't say that. Pilk, Mully is the ultimate night owl. He and I could not be more diametrically opposed when it comes to that. Mully, he's like the Spaniards. He'll have dinner at 10 o'clock at night. I'm just rolling over at that point.
Yeah, no, there's never a bad time to have a good meal. So we'll, we knew going in that the 14th looked like it could be a little dicey.
Right.
More importantly, the 15th is my youngest son's birthday, so that worked out. Obviously, we weren't going to necessarily have the call on Sunday, but it works out well to get to spend the day with him, and he's already got a gourmet meal planned at one of his favorite restaurants you may have heard of, the Waffle House. So we'll hopefully have a good meal on Saturday, followed by an unbelievably good meal on Sunday at the House of Waffles.
There you go. Well, I like that, the House of Waffles. All right, let's get back to some baseball talk. Let's pick Mike's brain on some of this here. Braden Burris is back, and what a year he had. The 389 batting average and over 80 hits, a remarkable year for the freshman. In the vein of Ethan Norby, how does Braden Burris build on what he did in year one in Greenville? And what have you seen out of the Snow Hill native in the fall and here in the preseason that excites you?
Man, I mean, a great fall and very much what you would expect out of Braden. I mean, Braden is a baseball player. He's a guy that, he's the rat. He's the guy that loves the game, and it just goes at it at a different level. So, some of that is just the Greene County culture. I mean, excuse me, being familiar with his dad and his uncle and knowing the kind of players that they were and how they went about it. Baseball's a big part of his life and has been for a long time. So, he just goes out and plays the game. Do I think he can replicate last year's numbers? Man, it's going to be tough, and I think a lot of it's going to be driven for all these sophomores coming off of relatively big seasons. It's going to a lot of it be driven by who's doing what around them, and who does the other team circle in that lineup and say, hey, this is the guy we know we can't let this guy beat us. I would think going into this series and already having heard the staff at Xavier talk about it a little bit, I know Braden Burris is that guy that they've got circled at least going into game one. So, I expect great things. I will see Braden, I'm sure, at second base. We may see him other spots on the infield. He's played a really nice third at different times in the preseason. Obviously, a plus defender in the outfield. So, going back to something you mentioned earlier, which was versatility, I think, Braden Burris is a guy that embodies that term for this club.
Mike Mullis joining us here on the Patrick Johnson Show. We're getting you ready for ECU baseball this afternoon as ECU will host Xavier opening day for Pirate baseball in 2026, and you'll hear every pitch of every inning, every out, every game here on 94.3 The Game and the IBX Media app during the course of the season. Hey, Mully, with Irby, he probably finished the season as hot as any Pirate. He had a remarkable time in the postseason, was really fantastic. How do you see Austin Irby kind of building on his 2025?
Yeah, P, I don't know that there was anybody better in the country than he was for that run down
unreal.
in Conway, South Carolina. He was unreal, lights out. Matter of fact, the only one that might have been able to rival his numbers actually played for the other team, and that was the first baseman over there for Coastal, Thorndike, who goes on to get the regional player MVP. So, I expect big things out of Irby. Another guy that versatility. You've seen him work a bunch at third base this year. You've seen him obviously, as solid as they come over at first. But I can tell you what's not lost. He still has that kind of spring in his step and the constant chatter. Looks like he's having a great time. And man, I just can he build into a little more of a consistent player? The highs were high and the lows were fairly low at times for him last year. So it was one of those deals where a little more consistency in his performance will go an awful long way. And then that goes back to how does that impact Braden Burris? How does that impact the rest of the lineup if Austin Irby is a guy that can be leaned on as a consistent producer?
What do we got going in the outfield, Mike? That seems to always be an area where there could be a lot of combinations depending on situations. But, as you look at that playing out, how do you see some of those spots being taken. And from a power standpoint, how do you see who do you see maybe being some of the stars of this Pirate team?
Man, I think that is the hardest question to answer, PJ. There's probably 7 legitimate guys that could go out there, and again, we've worn the word versatility out, but another display of that in that they have guys that are infield, outfield guys. The Vogel, I mean, the JUCO transfer. Don't know if he's in the lineup day one, but he certainly brings that power threat. I mean, he's got absolute juice. 24, 25 home runs at Walter State, which is a very legitimate program in the junior college ranks. You've got Jeff Sabater coming in from Division II in Millersville, talking to a Division II coach that coached against him last year. He literally specifically asked about Jeff and said, "Hey, man, how's he doing? How's his fall and spring been?" And I told him, I said, "Man, he plays great defense. He is lightning fast. And a guy that I think figures in. Alex Peltier, who we saw have ups and downs last year. If we look back to the Carolina series, PJ, you and I are talking about Peltier an awful lot early in the season, and it kind of fell off for him, and you could see the frustration wear on him. But another guy that can absolutely fly alongside, Jeff Sabater. So, and I think the name that everybody's talking about from an incoming freshman standpoint is Brady Lanahan, and he's been as good as any of them. So, and that's just 4 options. I mean, you still got Gavin Whitaker. I know I'm leaving somebody out. I don't know where Boucher fits in all this. Boucher's really swung the bat well. I don't know if maybe you see him in the DH spot, maybe playing some first base. I don't expect you'll see him in the outfield, but he may. I didn't mention Jack Herring from the UNC Charlotte series on last year. Jack Herring was kind of the anchor of what that Pirate offense was able to kind of pull together, the back third or back quarter of the season, kind of down the home stretch. So I've given you a non-answer because I don't really have an answer, buddy. I know that the staff over there has said, man, we could go heavy on defense or we could go heavy on offense. So it'll be interesting to see, how they choose to play it, especially being able to mix and match with this pitching staff.
Hey, Mike, how do you see, with that in mind, when you have an early season doubleheader? And, I mean, that 18 innings in one day is a lot of baseball. How do you see, that being managed this weekend potentially?
I think it's going to be predicated on what happens game 1 and 2 and kind of what the staff sees. I'm sure there'll be some guys that'll get some rest and I say get rest. Man, the adrenaline's going to be flowing. They've been working their butts off since August to get to this point. So, I don't think you worry about resting, quote unquote, resting guys, game 3 of the season. But I think it's going to be largely matchup driven. And there's some guys that, Lashley, the shortstop's been banged up a little bit. I know Gavin Whitaker had a little tweak in a hamstring at one point. So, these little nags, not necessarily injuries, will certainly dictate. And, and again, I think overall, I mean, it's well documented that Cliff Godwin is the master of the matchup. He absolutely lives and breathes by it. And I think you put a little gut instinct with his belief in the matchups, and we could see 3 different lineups, 3 games this weekend, which I think would be a good thing. So we get, we as a fan base get a better feel for what it's going to look like or what these guys look like, and these guys get a chance to get out and beat Pirate Nation.
Mike Mullis with us here. Mully, Xavier with 32 wins. They were 14-7 in the Big East last year. That is a conference that features UConn, that features Creighton. And, they got the preseason player of the year as well, does Xavier. And they've got an incredible – I mean, you talk about a gauntlet of a schedule. It is a crazy schedule that starts this weekend for Xavier.
Yeah, Connor Mish is the preseason conference player of the year, was all conference last year. Not your stereotypical or prototypical first baseman. He is a high volume on base guy. Did hit about 4 or 5 home runs last year, but was on base nearly half the time. I mean, he drew 44 walks, and I think it was 10 or 12 hit by pitch. So he's going to find his way on base. And in the outfield, Clay Burdett, an outfielder, a junior outfielder, another all-conference guy last year, second team preseason. Their number one arm is Peach. He'll go Friday night, Ryan Peach.
Yeah.
So we'll learn more about him. But man, I don't think you could talk about them. They're 32 wins. PJ, they were worth a lot of people's 40 wins last year. 32 wins playing the fifth toughest schedule in the country, and they've not let up this year. I mean, coming in here, the Louisville, Arkansas, these are going to be out of order. But Oregon State, Oregon, they've got Michigan late. They've got Cal State,
Indiana.
Fullerton. Indiana, they opened the conference with UConn. So, I mean, it's Coach O'Connor, I don't know there's a fine line between brave and stupid, and I don't know which, but he is not afraid to take all comers.
They play Evansville too. I mean, they've got it's a heck of a run that they will go on, all in advance of trying to piece together a resume as that conference tries to build itself up. But speaking of conferences, Mike, how do you see the American playing out this year? UTSA won the regular season last year. It is a fact that I'm sure is not lost on ECU and ECU fans, because they have really boasted about that fact there in San Antonio. UTSA really proud of those, and they should be. I mean, they have joined a conference with a perennial national power, and they won the regular season last year and look good in doing it. So how do you see the American playing out this year?
And as we close out the conversation by Xavier's schedule, I just happened to pull it up, was looking at, by the way, late in the season, they go to Georgia Tech. So I just, for the cherry on top. I mean, in answer to your question, P, as it relates to the conference, man, I saw a stat the other day. It's like 45, call it just under 50% of the players in this conference are new to this conference. So I think that answers the question as to what do we expect. Do I look at what East Carolina has roster-wise and feel like they should fare well? Sure, but I don't know really what the rest of these rosters look like. UNC Charlotte looms out there, UTSA. UNC Charlotte losing Gillespie, their Friday night guy. That's obviously a big hit for them, but we've also seen how the portal can replace that Friday night guy. So, I think it comes down to being, probably one of those three teams at the top of this thing at the end. What I would love to see is there be enough strength of schedule and success throughout the conference that maybe it opens us up to be, a multi-bid league other than having a different conference champion. But I don't know. I don't know if the conference is there, and I think that's just something that that we live with in today's game. The portal give it, then the portal take it. So we'll see, kind of what these teams look like, and actually, after this weekend, we'll start to get a little better feel. But if you look at East Carolina, you look at the upcoming schedule. When you go Xavier, Campbell, Carolina, I'm going to leave somebody out there. Xavier, Campbell, Carolina. And then obviously Coastal right down the calendar. I mean,
right.
You should know a lot about yourself if you're East Carolina, but I don't know what the rest of the country knows about you unless you come through those things, with a heavily leaning winning record. I don't think if you come through it at 500 or even a game under 500, that says that that's what you are.
Well, and I think you look at also, and again, they're not maybe what they were last year. We'll see. But, in the LeClaire field, Troy's in that. And, look what they've done the last several years. Prior to that Coastal Series, too, a trip to Wilmington. And that is never easy. I don't care what's going on. That is never an easy deal. So, hey, it's here, and we're minutes away from the season beginning. So, Mully, we appreciate it. Give us some keys, maybe some things that you'll highlight today as you begin the telecast here in a few minutes.
Obviously everybody excited about seeing Norby, and then you go past that, and it's everybody's excited about seeing this roster that's been talked about so much. And again, man, I'm just super excited that we've got 3 pitchers named for the weekend, and that just says an awful lot about where Cliff Godwin is and the confidence of his pitching staff. So I can tell you this: I think if you sit back, enjoy the games, I think you're going to see some things that you just haven't seen in a long time out of an East Carolina club. I'm looking forward to seeing the impact Jake Gautreaux has on the offense. Expect a little more aggression, probably a few more balls in the air. Don't think I'm fooling anybody to think we're not going to see the sack, bunt, and a slash. It's all going to be part of it. Coach Godwin considers that. That is an offensive weapon, and it's been a big deal for them. And early in the season, PJ, typically pitching beats hitting. So we'll see. Pirates electric group of young men. I'm just telling you, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think we're in for a special season.
All right, Mully, thanks. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday, and looking forward to your call of the game this afternoon.
Thank you, buddy. I will see you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks for being with us. Special edition of the Patrick Johnson Show. Hilk and I will be at Tiebreakers coming up on Monday, 5 o'clock. Patrick Johnson Show leading you inside Pirate Athletics. All right, it is time for the 2026 season to get underway. We'll send you to Clark LeClaire Stadium for the pregame show on the ECU Sports Network here on 94.3 The Game right after these words.